I spent $30 on groceries every week for the past month, and I want to tell you all about it. If you aren't familiar with the term shelf cooking, it is a term that was coined by Jordan Page, who's pretty popular here on social media. She put this challenge forward where she encouraged people and herself to shop their shelves first when meal planning and cooking dinner. So the idea is to use up the things that you have in your fridge, your freezer, and your pantry first before you go out and buy more food. So that means planning your meals as you're looking at recipes and what you want to make throughout the week around what you already have, and then just maybe supplementing with a few items from the grocery store that are potentially fresh produce and other things like that to complete your meals. So what she likes to say is that you should try and get your grocery budget down to $25 per week for a full month. She calls it Shelf-tember. So every September, that's when she does this challenge. So right now we are in September. So if you're watching this as I'm publishing this video, you could join in. She's publishing a lot of stuff. But I actually just did this for the past month of August, and I'm gonna double down and do it for a second month in September, expecting that my grocery bill will go up probably a little bit more than what it was the first month of shelf cooking, because I've used through a lot of what I already had in my fridge, freezer, and pantry. So I might have to get a little bit more from the grocery store. And if you're feeling overwhelmed by the idea of a $25 budget, she does say just keep it as low as you can. She says even if you can't do 25, maybe try 50. I didn't even really do a budget. I just focused on using up what I had and then bought whatever I needed, trying to still be price conscious and conscious of what I was purchasing, and it ended up being $30 a month, like I said. The biggest benefit of shelf cooking is that you use what you have so the food doesn't go bad. When you have a lot of food in your fridge, freezer, and pantry, you're likely to forget about it or not get to be able to use it, and then it's just going to expire. So by focusing on that, you can really hone in, especially on those things that might be expiring, and use them up, find recipes that use those items up, and get them out of your kitchen before they go bad. The other thing is that you are going to save money because you're using what you purchase. I hate going to the grocery store, buying all of these groceries that are so healthy and I'm all excited about it, and then you end up throwing a lot of it away because you didn't get to use it. I'm sure all of us are guilty of that. Like, you buy something healthy. What's a good example? Like, you buy a bunch of lettuce and then it just sits in your fridge, never gets used, and goes bad. So another benefit is that it is going to save you money. It can also save you money if you're then able to buy in bulk and restock your pantry, for example, because you've used up what you have. Then you can buy in bulk, which saves money, and then restock your pantry that way. The other benefit I've personally found is that sometimes when I get excited about cooking really exotic recipes, I buy ingredients that are just a one-off for this really special recipe. I try not to do that in general, but sometimes a recipe, I really want to make it, and it has this ingredient that I've never used before or very rarely used. I go out and buy it, and then the rest of it just sits there. So by doing this, I've either repeated that specific recipe if I enjoyed it, using that specific ingredient that I got and using that up and getting my money's worth of it, or finding another recipe that uses that ingredient up. So I get those specialty things out of my kitchen as well. Now, I do want to say there are some negatives or some criticisms I think I have of shelf cooking and what I've experienced through the few years that I've tried doing this, as well as this past month of August when I did it. And I know I say that it saves money, and it does save money, but the criticism that I'm sure you might be thinking is like, cool, that's great. You use up what you have in your fridge, your freezer, and your pantry, and you're saving money by reducing your grocery bill, but you're just gonna have to repurchase all of that stuff anyway, and you spent all of the money. Let's say, okay, so like for August, I used a lot of our frozen meat. I spent money on that, so it's not as if I only spent $25 a week to make food. I did invest earlier in my frozen meat collection and used that to cook for the past month. So it is skewed a little bit, and you have to take that into account when you're thinking about your budgeting and how this will save you money, is the fact that you already probably invested money in all of the foods you have in your fridge, your freezer, and your pantry, and you're going to have to invest money again to restock and replenish all of those areas as well. The other thing is I'm an adventurous cook. I don't like to have limits and restrictions on the types of meals that I make. More basic meals tend to be less expensive. I don't want to paint such broad strokes and generalize completely, but some of the meals that I found are the easiest and the cheapest are the ones that maybe don't have complicated recipes, like a taco salad that we like to make, which is basically anything that's in the fridge and the pantry that's kind of taco salad themed. So I'll throw in canned corn and canned beans. If I have some cheese in the fridge, I'll toss that in, maybe some pickled jalapenos, rice, whatever it is. I toss it all in with some lettuce, make a dressing out of salsa and sour cream and a little bit of mayo and hot sauce, and that's it. That recipe is very inexpensive. There are some other recipes that I love. They're some of our favorites that require fresh herbs that are expensive at the grocery store, shrimp maybe. And I don't like the idea of having to limit what I make. I understand that when you're budgeting, you have to make some adjustments and cut back in certain ways that you may not want to cut back in. So I want to say that you can do this one of two ways. You can really focus on just spending as little money as possible and having simple meals. Might not be the most extravagant, maybe not your family favorites or the type of meals you'd make if you were entertaining, but it's gonna save you some money. You can suck that up and probably do it for a month. I have a lot of faith in you. Or you could kind of do a combo like what I did. I tried not to completely cut out anything that's really expensive. So we still had shrimp and fish and more expensive meats during this past month, and I'm going to continue for the next month. But that's something to be aware of, is that if you really go all in on this, it is maybe not going to be the month where you have the most exciting dinners. Okay, so if you're wondering how my first month went, I mentioned at the beginning that I spent about $30 a week. So I have the total here of what I spent, and I spent $123.46 in the month of August. So that turns out to be $30.87 per week. There's a little bit more than 4 weeks in August. It's like 4 and a couple days. And the way that I did it was I didn't say, okay, I have $25 or $30 every single week to spend. I had some weeks where I spent, let's see, $8.62. And then a week where I spent $39.99. So it just kind of fluctuated and averaged out to be $30.82. If you're trying to really restrict yourself and really go all in on this, you could like bring a $20 bill to the grocery store. I found that when I did grocery pickup, when I shopped online, knew exactly what I was spending, it was a lot easier. The 2 grocery trips where I spent the most, those were the grocery trips where I was in the store. I won't say it was impulse purchasing, but I didn't really realize how all of those numbers added up, especially when you add tax on top of it, until I got to the register and checked out and was like, oh my goodness, this was a lot more than I expected it to be. So if you have the option of grocery pickup, or you could be that person in the grocery store, like with your phone and using the calculator and adding it up as you go, because I did not do that. And then when I went to check out, I was kind of surprised at what the total was. But in general, the fact that I was able to keep it still to just over $30 a week, I think was pretty good, but something to be aware of as you are grocery shopping, and how it is so easy to let those numbers add up very quickly, especially when you're trying to keep it to less than $25 a month. And I know right now groceries are so expensive, so that's very easy to hit that number. Overall, I think the first month went really well. That's why I am going to do it for a second month. And like I said, I've used through a lot of what we already had, especially a lot of our meats. And I think that's how I saved more money, was that I had frozen meat in the freezer downstairs in our basement. Not a ton, but I have used through most of it. I did need to buy some shrimp last month and fish last month, so that added to the bill. But I am going to explain to you in just a minute kind of how I meal planned, and we're gonna meal plan a little bit together for the month of September because I wanna show you the process, kind of the tools that I use, and I need to actually sit down and do that. So we're just gonna do it together, so let's go. We are in my pantry and I wanna explain to you the thought process that I personally have when I'm doing this shelf cooking and how I figure out what I want to cook. And I start by looking in my fridge, my freezer, my pantry, and just surveying the situation, understanding what I have, and then thinking about meals. Sometimes I will hop on my computer, and I'll show you that too, and find some specific meals to use these items. So I have used up a lot of my stuff here. So up high, you'll see I used up my bread flour. The other day, Jim, my husband, wanted some cookies and I had used up all my flour already except for whole wheat flour, so he didn't really want whole wheat cookies. So I Googled and found a recipe for almond flour cookies because I have almond flour left and I still have coconut flour left. I also will not only just look at my dried goods, but I think about everything on these Lazy Susans, like are there oils that I can be using up? I have been making smoothies and sticking like peanut butter and nut butters in there. What else in here? I have even been using up my spices down low. I have all of my canned goods, and then down on the floor here, let's go down. I have my backstock bin, and this is what I've really been focused on. I want to try and use up as much as I can in this backstock bin. But I also have been having snacks and using things in my pantry here. We don't typically keep a bunch of snacks, but let me show you this. So this is a snack bin. Empty. I used all the snacks. I have used up a lot of the canned goods there. Most of those are gone. I have some bananas, lots of onions. That added to my grocery bill last month because they didn't have any single onions, so I had to buy a whole bag of onions. So I need to plan some meals around onions before those go bad. I have a little bit of pasta left, some rice. A good tip is I have this barley. Don't even know what recipe I bought it for, but I was trying to find a way to use up the barley, and I have all my recipe books and binders here in the pantry. And what you can do is in the back of every single cookbook that you'll find is there is an index. See, I got it open to the index there. There's an index. So I was able to look inside of my cookbooks and find barley and find a recipe that I liked. So that's a really great way to find something that you can use, is that you find, okay, like I have walnuts. What am I gonna do with walnuts? How do I find a meal that centers around walnuts? Grab some of your cookbooks, look in the index, find where it says walnuts and see what recipes use it, and maybe it might use up some of your other meals that you have and your other items that you have in your fridge, your freezer, and your pantry. Okay, so you saw I had a lot left in the pantry to go through. I also wanted to check my freezer. That's one of the starting places for me because we like to have meat as our protein in our meals, and they oftentimes center around the meat that we select. So I have some chicken down there. I don't know if you can see some chicken thighs that I need to probably find a recipe for. Then I have shrimp and stuff for smoothies that I will use for breakfast. And then the rest of the food in here, I don't know if you can see down here, is all baby food. So I have been including the food that I buy for Owen, our baby, in the budget. But he pretty much eats like whatever we eat. He does have some purees, but a lot of times I will do some baby-led weaning stuff. If you have a kid or if you're familiar with that, it gives babies a chance to hold foods and eat them. So he'll have like avocado or banana or a piece of sweet potato, or he's really been liking, I've been making him some baby pancakes and he'll hold baby pancakes and stuff. So there's not a lot in the upstairs fridge here other than some meat, some chicken, and stuff for smoothies. So let's go check the basement freezer and see what's in there. Okay, so we're down at the basement freezer. I have essentially nothing in this refrigerator. There's some beer and some oat milk in there, and then yogurt that our nanny keeps, but that's her yogurt. So there's nothing really in there to work through. I have a ton of breast milk down here. I also have a lot of these Egg Life egg white wraps. These are very versatile, so I need to come up with a few recipes to use these because I have way too many. I have Italian style sweet and cinnamon that you can use for like a dessert type wrap, and then some of their original. I also have frozen cranberries. I do want to work through these, but I also had these because it's hard to find cranberries, or at least I think it's hard to find cranberries, and I want to be able to use these as the weather gets even colder and it gets towards winter. So I might not push myself to use these, and I might just let these sit in the freezer. I actually have one freezer meal left. I have a buffalo chicken casserole, so maybe on a lazy night I will make that, but that is the last freezer meal that I have. And then it looks like I have some ground beef and a lot more chicken. So we're gonna have to find some chicken recipes, and then the rest I might actually just need to be going out and buying some more meat. But let's go check the fridge upstairs because that's the last thing that I think we should probably look at. Most of the food that I have in the main part of my refrigerator is stuff that I already have for meals that I have planned this week, so I don't need to plan stuff around that. But I did see that I have some blue cheese that is going bad, and I don't have a meal plan for that, so that might be a good thing to use up. I also have a lot of stuff on this door. I have a ton of horseradish. I have no idea what to do with this. Let me know in the comments if you have an idea for what I can use this horseradish for. I guess it stays good still for a while here, so I don't need to use it real soon. But I have some maple syrup, salsa, tahini, pepperoncinis. This I used for Mississippi roasts, and since I have so much chicken, maybe I could try doing a Mississippi roast but with chicken. I've heard that's a thing too. I might have to look that up though. And then down lower I have a lot of, I would say, Asian inspired, picking you up. I have a lot of Asian inspired sauces. I have hoisin sauce, rice vinegar. I have coconut aminos, which is like a replacement for soy sauce. I have garlic chili sauce, oyster sauce, fish sauce, just a lot of those things. And then I have a bunch of pickles and jalapenos down here. So, oh, and also, speaking of specialty ingredients that I buy for like a one-off recipe, lemongrass paste. I use this for a coconut rice that is so delicious. And I did make it again last month, but I still have a bunch of this lemongrass paste. So I wonder, with all those Asian flavors, if there's something that I can think of or find that would use all of those things together. So let's sit down and get to meal planning. Please don't get overwhelmed by this, but I did pull out all of my meal planning binders. All 4 of them, plus, let's see, 3 of my favorite cookbooks. And I'm not gonna plan the entire month, but I do like creating a bit of a running list of some recipes that I'm thinking about, and then I can supplement them throughout the month as I need other recipes and stuff. So I'm just gonna flip through these, get some inspiration. I think the walnuts specifically were an example. I am gonna look at some of the recipe books and look in the index and try and get an idea of something I can make there. I have shared before another way that I do this as well. I have my computer. So Google, of course, is a great way to do that. So if I am trying to use up a specific recipe, usually I'll try and have something in mind where I am saying like walnut salad or coconut flour cookies, whatever it is. That's a really great way to get you a jump start. I also use the website All Recipes, and on the All Recipes website, they have an option where you can type in all of the different ingredients that you have, and it will generate recipes that use those ingredients, which is kind of a fun little tool. There are a few other websites that do that as well. So I will use those, do some Googling, go through my recipe binder, and then I just create a running list. And that's how I meal plan usually. I don't assign a specific day to the meals that I'm gonna make, because I never know when I go to the grocery store when certain things are going to be expiring. So if I have a recipe with mushrooms or something and I'm planning on making it later in the week, but all of the mushrooms at the store were expiring in 3 days or something, and I need to make that meal sooner. So I give myself the flexibility by just creating a running list of meals. So I think that's probably it for today. I am going to jump in and spend some time with my binders, maybe watch a TV show on my iPad while I do this. I will be sharing the full total and how the second month of shelf cooking went on my reset videos. I've been sharing monthly reset videos where I share my goals. I have been talking about how my grocery bill is one of my goals for the past couple of months. So the October reset is where I will discuss how September went. So stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel and you click that notification bell so you'll be notified when I post new videos, and you'll be notified when I post that video if you want to see how much I end up spending this month on my grocery bill. But until next time, I will see you guys later.